Hi, I'm Marna, and Thanksgiving is almost here. Darren and I enjoy every holiday. Usually it's just he and I, and we just make the best of it and have a good time. This year we're going to, well, we don't know yet, but our backup plan is Darren's going to make shrimp, and we're going to watch White Christmas on TV. It's probably one of my favorite Christmas movies. Anyway, I wanted to show you some ideas to dress your dolls for Thanksgiving. This little dress I made using in October I did a tutorial or DIY on how to make a witch's dress for the BJDs and some other size dolls, and I showed how to make the pattern. This is the same pattern. I just changed the sleeves a little bit and made it shorter. Now this skirt, we're going to do a little tutorial today, and it is the same pattern that we used for the 28-inch Monster High at Halloween. The difference is I did this by hand, and anybody, and I mean anybody with a needle and thread and a little bit of fabric can make this the way that I did. It turned out pretty cute. I'm happy with it. She's wearing a, this is actually an American Girl sweater that she has on with the little outfit. I just love it. I got it on eBay. And then I bought, if you go to thrift stores all year long like I do, I look for holiday pins, and let me see if she'll stand. I get holiday pins all of the holidays. My favorite to find are St. Patrick's Day because they're probably the hardest to find. And I have found that you can take a plain shirt, even of your own, and add one of these little pins, and I'm just going to stick this through. If it comes out crooked, forgive me, I'm just showing you. You can make a shirt into a holiday shirt and be more festive just by adding a 50-cent or a $1 pin. You've seen me do this before. The BJDs, the 1/3 size BJDs, wear the same size clothing, except for length, on some of the dresses, as the 28-inch Monster High dolls. And at Halloween, I did a pleated skirt for the 28-inch Monster High, but I did it on the sewing machine, so I wanted to show you how I do this by hand. First of all, I keep a notebook and I write down, I make my own patterns. I write down the sizes and everything that I need for this. And we're going to make this one gathered rather than pleated. And the first thing I'm going to do is I need an off-white. I'm going to go look again, or even maybe a light green. But what I'm going to do by hand is I'm going to take the bottom and I'm going to fold that over just a little twice so that you have a finished edge at the bottom. And then I'm going to take my needle and thread and make very small stitches from one end to the other. When I finish that, I'm going to take that same color thread and I'm going to make great big stitches, running stitches, all the way across here so I can gather that down. And I'll show you that when we get there. We're going to take this edge down to this size. Okay, I have in front of the TV put my hand stitching in at the hem. And now what we're going to do is take a longer piece of thread. I have this double knotted, and I'm going to start at one end, and I'm just going to seesaw this back and forth all the way to the end. These are not small stitches, but they're not gigantic. I am trying to keep them approximately the same size. Wanted to give you a couple hacks real quick. Thread has gotten so expensive. When I'm sewing, I no longer use one needle. I went to Walmart and I bought this big packet of needles for $1. And I put them in my little hand sewing kit, and I no longer just take the pieces of thread off of my needle to change it and throw the thread away. I hang on to that. It was worth $1 because thread has gotten ridiculously priced, and that's just a little hack that'll save you a little bit of money. It won't seem like much, but I'll tell you, buying thread anymore is just ridiculous. I also keep a plastic bag that I keep my projects in. We have dogs and cats, and I'm always petting them and such. And the plastic bag, when I'm working on it and I get to a stopping point, I put it in the plastic bag to remind myself to clean your hands. And that keeps your project cleaner and animal fur off. When you get your stitches all in and you're at the end, what you're going to do is make your gathers kind of even. They don't have to be real even at this point, but you want them kind of even. And then you're going to measure with your piece of waistband bias tape. This is a craft anybody can do. This is done by hand. It doesn't matter if it takes you a week to do it. So I want to loosen that just a little bit so that it fits right in that bias tape. And if it comes out a little shorter, just a little shorter or a little longer, you can fix that as you go. But I want to pull this down a little bit. And I always end my knots on the back, start and end my knots on the back. Tie that off, and we'll go to the next step. Okay, so you want to make your gathers flat and even. Work them like this. And then what you're going to do is take your bias tape, fat side to the back. Start at one end. And we're going to do this a little different. You're going to stitch all the way across. As you work, you can pin this. Let me show you. You want to push that all the way up so that seam is hidden. And you can pin that off so that your seams or your gathers do not slip as you go. And then you're only going to stitch to the back of your bias tape. As you're sewing your pleats down, well, they're not pleats, they're gathers, into your bias tape, the back side of the bias tape, move your pleats around and play with them a little bit to try to make them a little more even. Then grab them by the bottom and straighten them a little bit, and make sure that you're sewing all the way up to your fold line. When you get to the end where you have sewn your bias tape to the back side, fold your bias tape over. Do not cut off your thread. There's no reason to. And what you're going to do is turn that and come up through the back, and you're going to catch the very corner of the front and the back of the bias tape. But in the front, what you're going to do is hide your stitch. So you're going to push that down to where it's even. You're going to come up underneath on the underside, very small stitch, catch just the back side of the bias tape, kind of along the line, and then do the same thing a little further down the line, and you're catching just the back, not the front of the bias tape. Ah, I didn't catch it. There we go. You're catching just the back and pull that through, and you do that all the way across. And what that creates is you won't see the seam on the front side. When you get to the end, do not cut your thread. Fold your bias tape over as tight and small as you can, like I'm showing here, and then stitch it down and sew your snap in. Something that you'll want to look at on the back of a skirt is how do you want that finished? Which part do you want on the outside of the skirt? I chose the part of the fabric that had more print to it rather than the plain side. And it's not going to show that much because what we're going to do is after you finish like this orange part here, when I finish this and tie this off, which is what I'm getting ready to do. I just wanted to show you this with this hanging. And I'm going to sew, put my knot right there, and then I'm going to get my white or off-white thread back out. I'm going to take a seam to about here. I'm going to tuck this under and finish it till about there on both sides. And then I'm going to take that same white and make a small seam, stitching that up. But you want this area here so that this goes over your doll's hips without ruining the hip sockets of your doll, and snaps nice. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your Thanksgiving if you're in the USA. Some of you have already had your Thanksgiving. Please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe.